But my father saw the moment for what it was and sat Tatiana by him diagonally from Hank. It didn't matter what either thought. His extremely bright, beautiful daughter wouldn't be easy. Hank thought, no kidding, but just nodded submissively, then was humbled by what he knew were not normally afforded delicacies. Mama even cooked hamburgers in case anything wasn't to his taste. That Hank shared first to get out of the way of every flavor of blinis possible for coming out the ears, he called it. Food was also a reason not to talk, since his hastily revived, decade-old, pathetic one-year Russian couldn't kid anyone further than spasiba. Spasiba, thank you. A year later, Hank still translated words too slowly to recognize when he was or wasn't the joke. Anyway, my father needed something for his handlers, so while refilling Hank's water, I dug a formidable pit for him to jump, asking, why does generosity's purpose always seem to eliminate drudgery for the elite? You only had to need water for me to get it for you. Abundance is the planet's burden instead of privilege. You support exploiting water as commodity, don't you, capitalists? Everyone in your country buys water in bottle. So why aren't you realistic about what capitalism is? I looked at my father after showing Hank's scorn for emphasis. No investor capital, none. What are you really doing? Capitalism is either owning or being owned. Capital is key. From your high and mighty vantage, you know corruption is what people can afford. But you pretend we have to be pure. Dr. Hammer opened doors you slammed shut. Anything and everything was arranged. But you tell hotel manager you are independent. Nonsense. You can't ignore solvency's requirements. Here you must shove to not be shoved. Capitalist greed will not change politics. Look outside this window. Down below, every night, the experiment with money brings more homeless. There were no poor before unless they chose to starve. They used to hide from command economy in woods. Now they're transients, a word from your world. They scavenge and disrupt our sleep and peace of mind all night. Government needs to fix that. Their business. Our business needs money. That should be your focus, not negotiations going nowhere. Mama shook her head, but my father's granite stare meant his son should speak, if I had more to say. Mama shook her head, but my father's granite stare meant his son should speak, if I had more to say. So I said, no one buys Little Trike. This is stupid. We are in business because our name is Hammer. I repeat, you even say corruption is inherent. For better or worse, there's nothing you can change from the bottom. You are completely out of it. Tainted money is all money is. Afraid it won't come clean when it gets to you? Boo-hoo. What does that say? Streets are swept with fools like you in America. Deal with Joseph or decide on someone outside the hotel for protection. Usually there's only one choice to make money. We can't stagnate in limbo for months. You will fail and have no ticket home. Suicide mission. My mother, of course, shook her head, but the glint in my father's eye meant he at least acted as if I figured out Hank for him. The hotel's messenger service was established. Hank was supposed to fail. Jackals is how I remember the Soviet Union, when the power to compete was restricted to an elite few, where even your own father answered to people more important than you. Dinner was over for me. Hank finished his water. There was nothing left to do. My father walked us out to talk in the street after vibes wouldn't allow Hank's hand to touch my sister. My father told Hank everyone was convinced he's baloney, and he referred to an obscure Russian vegetable that neither Hank nor I understood. My father respected what I'd said, that Hank's destiny was hooks were in him. Hank had no choice, and his department could lace Hank in red tape, except we had to unfortunately consider the Mezhda Narodnaya first. Smiling, my father said, Just business. He thought, 20%, a bargain. My old man went in, and before we started off, Hank said, just business will be our epitaph. We aimed straight for the Mezda Narodnaya through the inner ring, while Hank's eyes were mostly closed until his legs buckled. The mill dropped him further from a conscious reality to hold on to, and the last third of the way back he begged to fall asleep on the road, refusing to let me hold him up when he apparently hadn't slept in days. After smacking into a pole, Hank insisted I take the radio over his embarrassment for not bringing presents. He said he left town with nothing as a barely surviving relic of the Bohemian subsistence ideology. Still, I should have brought gifts. My mother assumed none were left. Hank even remembered that back in college, everyone knew the thing to do was bring Levi's. But he hadn't thought was supposedly so much on his mind. Not surprising then. He didn't imagine ending up in an attic either. Still, with just 2 pairs of jeans, regretting how selfish he was for ignoring he'd faced generosity at much greater sacrifice, when even just one inflated, overpriced candy bar from Kennedy Airport would have meant something. He messed up. Hank woke after one confused stumble and acknowledged the arrival of acquaintances I'd recruited who were walking with us.